Good morning. Today we're going to talk about amplifiers and their applications. In this case we have a stereo amplifier, we look at a multi-channel home theatre amplifier, and we look at an industrial 100-volt line amplifier and their best uses. In this instance we have a stereo amplifier which is 2 channels left and right, ideal for using a record player or playing your music through. It'll work in a small environment like a restaurant or that, but primarily designed for the consumer to use in the home. Good quality, and that's the main aspects of this, is music listening. It has a radio built in, remote control, and it's network capable. Now, here we have a home theatre or multi-channel amplifier. Again, it has radio, will operate your record player, put your music through USB, network capable and Bluetooth, so we can stream our music to that. And on the back we can see a lot more connections. In this case it's a 7.2, so we can have 7 speakers to deal with the home theatre. And this primarily works on time delay. So in a natural environment, if something happens, your 2 ears differentiate where the sound is coming from by analysing a time delay. These work exactly the same. Each channel has a time delay to it, giving you the effect that something passes or is left or right, anything like that. So as you can see, an array of connections, looks very fancy, but really each connection is for a speaker. We have our inputs, we have a wireless application, so for our network we can hardwire or operate wirelessly. Full remote control, ideal for a house environment. This particular model, which is a Yamaha, is dual zone, which means I can listen to the home theatre in one room and the radio in a second room completely independently. A great feature in a normal house environment. This is for the consumer, it's not an industrial use. Now, this baby here is what's called a high impedance or 100-volt line industrial type amplifier, designed to work 8 hours a day on multi-speakers, 10, 20 speakers depending on the output. Normally we would divide up the output, depending on the number of speakers, to about 90% of its total output. So if it's 100 watts, we would work on 90 watts as its total. The advantage of these is we can work multiple speakers off it, and the wiring is much simpler. We can daisy chain. We're not really concerned with the impedance, which we would have a problem if we tried to use that amount of speakers off a consumer amplifier. Again, this particular one is 4 zones, so that allows us to control each zone just on and off. So if we had 4 different rooms in an environment, we could switch off any room, a meeting room or anything like that. We wouldn't have the music playing there. It's also designed to take microphones, priority on mic 1. So if we speak through the microphone, the music will drop down so everybody can hear our announcement. On the back, as we can see, a simplified connection. You have inputs for microphones and auxiliary inputs. On this particular one on the front, we have a USB connection, allowing us to put any device through, a tablet, phone, anything like that for our music. On the back, we have normal 8 ohm, which we could use in a smaller environment, using low impedance speakers, but that would limit us to the number of speakers, unless we can go through and get our impedance back right. We really have to consider that when you're using an amplifier like this, 100-volt line speakers are the way to go, and much simpler for us. You have common, and then each zone has its tapping. We can run, depending on this particular one, is 240 watts. So with that we could have 60 watts. So we could say we could have the speaker set at 7.5 watts, we could use 6 speakers in each zone. So nice environment. If we needed more, we would then add a slave amplifier. Again, the amplifier is designed for that, We have a pre-out which allows us to feed out to another amplifier, and that again we can feed our speakers off that, all controlled from the one zone here. So nice amplifier, much heavier transformers than that, designed to work in an industrial environment. Okay, again we have the 100 volt line amplifier. I'm going to show you connections to a speaker. This is a 100 volt line ceiling speaker, and as we see with 100 volt line we have a transformer. This is because the output stage of the amplifier feeds out 100 volts down the line. Very important that you use the correct cable, fire hazard and all the rest. So we want to make sure that the cable is the correct cable for that, because we have 100 volts going down the line, going into a transformer, and this stabilizes the wattage for the speaker. Subsequently, we can use a number of speakers. Okay, like all speakers, we have a phased positive and negative, and the same on our speaker, positive and negative. So the negative on this case will go into our common, and we just screw in there, again ensuring we make a good contact. Now, in this case, the second connection is 8 ohms, we're not using that, and the first zone 100 volt line is the next one here. So we just make sure our connection is good there. In we go, and again a good connection made there. Now our cable again feeding on to our speaker. Again we have it phased, we have positive and negative. So again, quite simply, we're going to connect into our speaker. Online we've put up some diagrams for you, which, as they say, a picture paints 1,000 words. Much simpler to see it in print. We both have the 100 volt line and low impedance diagrams for you, and they're online for you to view. I think that you'll find these very helpful.